Chiefess Saga of Kárásjohka is staring out over her domain after a small hike. Unrest is settling in from being pregnant and less movable, though still without any pain. She finds herself spending many of the days near the fire in the longhouses, worrying, scheming, or just daydreaming of her coming child and the event she could be faced with when she announces it to be Aki's child, her concubine, rather than her husband Viggo's. A couple of weeks later, Sucha's spymaster Biela returned home from her trip to Runala, spying on their neighbors, but she has not been successful and only managed to escape without being caught by sheer dumb luck. Where one man failed, another must step in, so Sucha rushed to see her counselor Nayanas to tell him to gather a small emissary and travel to Runala. Maybe diplomacy with Chieftain Ahmad is the correct method, with the emissary hopefully gathering important information too. Almost a month later, the emissaries returned with news. Nayanas had not gathered any military information, but said that the affairs went well. But he had learned that Ahmad was a tall man and a flamboyant trickster, already a father at the age of 17 to a little boy, and with what appears to be a very loyal counsel. Snow was again falling in Kárásjohka. Winter comes early in November, and Sucha's mother, hand in hand with her court shemane, Muko, was coming into the longhouse with snow under their feet. Sucha had a feeling for weeks now that something was on with these two, but she tried to look surprised when the shaman asked for permission to marry the chiefess' daughter in a formal way. Here she is, 22 of age, 8 months pregnant with her mother's future grandchild, and now deciding if her mother is allowed to marry again. Surreal in Sucha's mind, but of course she is allowing it. Sucha is finding herself at a celebration in Kárásjohka, and the evening's entertainment seemed to be over, but Aki suggested a reading. Oh yes, he did. A clerk soon arrives, wondering what the guest would like to hear, and Sucha see her chance to impress Aki. Well, Sucha do know that he is an adventurer, so what about let's be entertained by the travels of Jerusalem. As the clerk reads for us, Aki seemed completely engrossed. He later approaches me. "Good choice, Sucha," he says and tosses a coin. Is that good or bad? I don't think Sucha knows either. What exactly will it do down here? It will give us a smoldering chemistry, so we will have a better success chance of actually seducing him, which is the whole thing this event is about. It finally happened. Sucha had a son. Everything with the pregnancy went well, and now came the time she feared to do. She had to call for a meeting the next day. Everyone from the council was called, along with Aki and Sucha's mother. The only one important missing was Viggo, who was an Inari of course still, probably for the best, Sucha thought before she started her little speech. "I am happy you all came, as I have an important announcement. As you may all know, my man and concubine Aki has been close to me, and I must be honest, the child is his." Aki's face turned to white. He did not expect it, and by the looks of the rest, Sucha thought, nor did the rest, but she had to finish her speech. "I named my son Eitnar Elvin of the Elvin Dynasty, the heir to Kárásjohka." It seems like they accepted it after the room fell silent. After everyone has left the room, Sucha summoned the court scribe Orvan to make sure that a letter was sent to Inari to let her husband know of it. She was actually thankful that he would receive the news and have some time to think about it before they were to meet again. Maybe he could do the same, find a concubine and have a bastard, while they enjoy each other's alliance without, hopefully, too much drama. Education is important, and Sucha asked of her court tutor Nakul to be Eitnar's guardian, to take care of him while she works. At least that is what he was hired for. Midwinter, the chilling cold Arctic temperatures and snow was making it hard to travel. Viggo had never mentioned anything about Sucha's son in any of the messages he has sent from Inari, which mostly was of the formal context. That could be good news, it could be bad news, she wouldn't know until they met face to face. On the other hand, Sucha had received news of war in Runalar. Her neighbor Amod was apparently attacking someone to the south that she didn't know. She needed to follow this development closely with her spies, as it is both a concern and something that could lead to opportunities. Though her own regiments are still in training for years to come, the combined forces of hers and Viggo's, well, that might be enough for a spring advancement when the snow melts. 3 months later, the snow was finally smelting outside. The winter had been dreadfully dull, except for the little New. That one, on the other hand, had made plenty of noises and upsets in the night. But it was finally the day where Sucha had to meet with her husband after 6 months apart. Viggo was smiling, which should be a good sign. "I am happy for you, my wife," he said. Sucha was a little bit surprised by this. The first word in such a long time. Yeah, she was prepared for an upset husband, but no, on the contrary, it turned out. After an hour of talk and getting up to speed with each other, Sucha came to the conclusion that Viggo was sincere. Furthermore, he was happy to not be the father, at least he said that indirectly. And who could blame him, such a young man, barely an adult himself? So it seems Sucha's worries were in vain, and their friendship and alliance is stronger than ever before. Sucha is still scheming and seducing Aggie, and hopefully she can actually be successful here. As she draws closer to Aggie, I do not know whether to tear the clothes from his body or punch the greedy smile off his face. He kisses me, a challenge, and I drag him closer, a fitting riposte. The wearing feeling in my chest are echoed by our bodies. We spend the night delivering both insults and bliss onto each other. That sounds like a really good night to me. Alright, well, kiss me again, my vile bambot, which will make us lay with Aggie. So we have finally succeeded in making him our lover. Or well, actually just seduced him, which is also nice. There you go. The reports of Amod's war is coming in more frequently now, and the latest do confirm Sucha's suspicion of him struggling, losing a big battle to the south against his foe, and he is retreating back to Runalar. This is the chance she was looking for. This is what she was waiting for 6 months. The day has come. She called for her counselor, Nayans, and also Marshal Nasty to make sure that things were put into motion with what she had planned. As she explained, sent word for Inari and my husband, our ally, that we are going into war with Runalar and we would much appreciate the help of conquering the province of Aviovara. We will immediately raise the men, everyone we have, and I will be leading the army myself, she said. First step is invading Aviovara itself, sieging down the holding and waiting for backup to arrive from Inari. Halfway there, Amod's armies are spotted returning but fleeing from their opponents toward Aviovara, coming from the sea, which now make us know how big his armies truly are after his battle. While also Viggo's troops is on the move to the south of us, with himself leading it. This, by all means, does look like a really good situation for Sucha. Sucha reached the city of Aviovara, but rather than sieging down the city, she would rather win on the battlefield. So she moved north to catch Amod and his remaining forces off guard, well knowing and trusting that her husband will join in to fight with her, but of course arriving a little bit later. The battle is about to begin, and Viggo's army will not get there in time to be part of the first battle, though he might be able to secure the victory for the war if the battle comes to a draw. Sucha's armies was split into 4 groups, with her knights being in command of 1 each. The enemies was also starting to move about in the distance, and Sucha herself was of course staying back with the archers to begin with, to get a good view of the battlefield and see how it goes. but she soon after joined in the action. She never did manage to kill anyone, but got a good few hits in at least, surely making someone bleed. But she had to be careful too, and rather let the professionals do their job. After all, this was her first battle. The fighting was fierce, and the enemy fighting for their lives, and bodies started to pile near the infantry. But of course, Socha's armies was outnumbering Amot's 2-1, and in the end, decisive victory. Only Amot himself managed to escape from this battle somehow, but also Socha had lost many men, but numbers, more knights, and advantage, taking them by surprise, was making up for a very good victory on the day, leaving Socha close to her goal of taking Aviovara, which her husband Viggo, with his armies, was already making sure of somehow. He knew that the battle was already won, and he stayed back to siege the city itself. Socha had decided to join in on the siege, combining forces with Viggo to make a total of 402 men outside of the city, more than enough to take it, while Amot helplessly was fleeing the county. With all the hustle and bustle being a war and now sieging down a city, well, someone may be laying in a tent just waiting for something to happen. And that's exactly what happened here. A child is growing in her womb. Yes, that is Socha's womb. And it is Aggi's, so hopefully he will be proud. Midwinter, almost 5 months of siege it took to break the town, but in the end it was no match for our forces. Now it's only a question of time before Amot will give in to our demands, as his own capital in Romala is also getting sieged down. From reports we gathered, it would be unwise for us to travel closer to these invaders, as we already have our own war goals. Finally, after 10 months of war, Socha can enforce her demands and take the county of Aviovara for herself, greatly supported by her husband, of course, who does deserve credit to heed the call of an aggressive war, showing him to truly be an ally we can rely on. She can now finally travel home to Kárásjohka, mend her sore body after a long war, and prepare for another baby, which is due in a couple of months' time, no less. Yes, time fly when you're in a war, and now come the hard part, to keep control and tending to the need and security of this new county. No small task, with a big population, industry, and building up the infrastructure after the siege as well. Something had been going on in Socha's mind for a long time while at war. She was not really happy with a few of the council members, and she now believed that her father had probably been ill-equipped to deal with confrontations. But that is not Socha. Oh no, not at all. So she summoned Nasty, her marshal, to join her in the longhouse alongside Nicole, the steward, and she straight up told Nasty how it was. "You're fired." And that was about it, as she dismissed her again. Nicole, on the other hand, she told to take up the position as the new marshal, as he was supposedly half decent in the skills of martial arts and also had an education. This, of course, made room for a new steward. So one meeting is turning into 2, but this was well planned by Socha, as she knew exactly who to appoint as Aggie showed up. Not only is he going to become father to her second child, but he was also, as far as she could tell, a man well equipped to deal with money, and simply put it, someone she trusted almost as much as her mother. In the end, an easy appointment. Truly blessed years for Socha. A son was born and another in the making, while also, much to her increasing and inflating ego, she managed to win a war and take new land for herself, making Kárásjohka double the size, and thereby likely also making her double as powerful. No, indeed, it was hard to not be happy, when also friendship with the allied husband and the former schemes had panned out. Question is, where does she go from here? Well guys, you need to figure that one out in the next episode. You know what time it is. Yes you do. It is time to leave a like and subscribe.